The enormous holographic display at the center of the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber pulsed with an alarming red hue. The quantum network status indicator for Earth, typically a steady blue, had suddenly gone dark. A complete communications blackout. Again. High Patriarch Zixtra, the venerable Centaurian, who had served as the Council's chief legislator for over 2 centuries, let out a sound that his species made only when deeply annoyed. A low, resonant vibration that caused the ornate fixtures around the chamber to rattle slightly. "Inform Admiral Corvin," he commanded, his 4-fingered hand gesturing toward the communications officer. "Seventh Fleet is to assume battle readiness. Standard Earth protocol." Around the circular chamber, representatives of 17 advanced civilizations exchanged knowing glances. This wasn't the first time. In fact, it was the 16th recorded instance of Earth going completely silent in the 50 millennia since humans had joined the galactic community. And each time, the Council had learned to be prepared for, well, anything. The communications officer, a slender Tyrellian whose translucent skin displayed the neural pathways of anxiety lighting up throughout her body, confirmed the transmission. "Message sent. High Patriarch. Admiral Corvin acknowledges and reports 7th Fleet is already moving to orbital position around Sol System." Of course he was. Admiral Corvin had been running Earth silence drills for decades. The fact that he had anticipated this event before the official alert spoke volumes about his experience, and perhaps his justified paranoia when it came to humans. "Convene emergency session in 1 standard hour," ordered Zixtra, rising from his ceremonial seat. "Pull the complete records of all previous Earth silences. I want full analysis, particularly the quantum distortion event of 47-912 and the mass transit anomaly of 49-203. As the Council members dispersed to prepare, Zixtra couldn't help but mutter to his personal aide. 50,000 years of interstellar cooperation, and still, the humans managed to surprise us. The aide, young for a Centaurian at merely 83 years old, ventured a question. "Do you think it's serious this time, High Patriarch?" Zixtra paused, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of deep contemplation. "With Earth," he said finally, "it is always serious, just rarely in the way we expect." Admiral Corvin stood on the observation deck of the Vigilance, flagship of the 7th Fleet. Through the transparent alloy viewport, he could see the blue-green jewel of Earth, appearing deceptively peaceful against the backdrop of space. 50 ships under his command now formed a defensive perimeter at a safe distance, their advanced stealth systems ensuring they remained undetectable to Earth's monitoring systems. Corvin was not human. His species, the Aldaran, resembled what humans might call reptilian, though with a more evolved cranial structure and iridescent scales that shifted color with his emotional state. Currently, those scales displayed a pattern of deep blue overlaid with amber streaks, concern tempered with curiosity. "Status report," he commanded, his voice carrying the distinctive harmonic undertones of his species. Lieutenant Commander Vrel, his tactical officer, approached with a data slate. "All ships in position. Admiral, stealth systems functioning at optimal levels. We've deployed quantum sensor arrays at strategic points throughout the system. So far, no unusual activity detected beyond the communications blackout." "And what of Earth itself?" "Surface scans show normal patterns of civilization, cities illuminated, transportation systems functioning, energy grid stable. Whatever has caused the silence doesn't appear to have affected their basic infrastructure." Corvin nodded, his amber streaks deepening slightly. "Yet the quantum network is completely dark, not degraded, not experiencing interference. Dark. Yes, sir. It's as if they've deliberately taken the entire planetary network offline, or redirected it." "Redirected," Corvin's head tilted, a gesture his species used to indicate heightened interest. "Elaborate." "Just a theory, sir. But in previous incidents, we've sometimes discovered that Earth hasn't actually lost capability, but rather reallocated resources. Corvin made a sound that might have been a laugh, had it not contained so many frequencies beyond human hearing. Yes, I recall the unified sporting competition incident of 48,112. Apparently, humans find watching other humans chase spherical objects so compelling that they deemed it worthy of dedicating 82% of their quantum bandwidth to its transmission. He turned from the viewport, scales now shifting to a more determined pattern. Assemble a covert reconnaissance team. I want a closer look. We'll take the Phantom. It has the most advanced cloaking technology in the fleet. Sir, Vrel began, his own scales showing concern. The Council protocols for Earth silence events specify maintaining perimeter distance until we have determined there is no threat, Corvin finished. And the most efficient way to determine that is direct observation. Besides, he added, his scales rippling with what might have been amusement, I've dealt with humans long enough to know that waiting for them to explain themselves can take centuries. As Corvin left the observation deck, he issued one final order. And contact Dr. Gray. If anyone can make sense of human behavior, it's our xenoanthropologist. In the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council on Proxima Centauri 7, representatives had reassembled for the emergency session. The central holographic display now showed a timeline of all previous Earth silence events, dating back to their earliest inclusion in the interstellar community. High Patriarch Zixtra called the session to order, his voice reverberating through the chamber with artificial amplification that conveyed the gravity of the situation. Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Council, we face yet another Earth silence event. While history suggests this may be benign, we cannot discount potential threats. The 7th Fleet has been deployed as per standard protocol. The representative from Bellatrix, a gaseous entity contained within an environmental suit, pulsed with agitation. This is the 16th such event. Each previous occurrence has proven to be nothing more than human cultural peculiarity. Are we not overreacting? Zixtra's 4 eyes narrowed simultaneously. May I remind the honorable representative of the quantum disruption of 47912? What began as a communications blackout nearly resulted in a cascading failure throughout the entire northeastern quadrant's quantum network. Human experimentation with quantum resonance entertainment technology almost collapsed our interstellar communications infrastructure. The Bellatrixian deflated slightly, conceding the point. Furthermore, continued Zixtra, the mass transit anomaly of 49203 began similarly, with silence, before billions of humans simultaneously attempted interplanetary travel, overwhelming our regulatory systems and creating navigational chaos that took months to resolve. A holographic simulation appeared, showing the chaotic traffic patterns that had ensued when millions of human ships had suddenly departed Earth en masse, all headed to various vacation destinations throughout the local cluster. All because a popular entertainment personality suggested an impromptu space holiday would be refreshing. Zixtra added dryly, the Arcturian representative, a crystalline being whose thoughts were translated through a vocalization device, chimed in. But we implemented new regulations after that incident. Humans agreed to provide advance notice of large-scale cultural events or technological deployments. Indeed, Zixtra acknowledged, which makes this silence all the more concerning. Either they are violating that agreement, or something unexpected is occurring. He gestured to a council analyst, who brought up detailed data on the current situation. The quantum network shutdown occurred precisely 6.4 standard hours ago. It was not gradual, as would be expected with technical failure, but instantaneous, suggesting deliberate action. All attempts at conventional communication have received automated responses indicating temporary unavailability. The representative from Tau Ceti, closest to human in appearance though, with distinctive golden skin and eyes, spoke next. Has there been any unusual activity leading up to this event? Energy spikes, mass movements, anything that might offer context? The analyst consulted her data. Nothing significant in the physical realm. However, there was a notable increase in quantum network traffic in the 48 hours preceding the blackout. Specifically, a 327% increase in data transmission related to a single entertainment channel. Zykstra's aide leaned close to whisper something, and the High Patriarch's expression changed to one of recognition. "Ah," he said, with something approaching resignation. "The final episode." Several representatives looked confused, but others, those more familiar with human culture, nodded in understanding. "For those unaware," Zystra explained, "humans have a form of sequential entertainment called series, which unfold narratives over extended periods. Apparently, a particularly significant one is concluding its run after captivating global attention for several Earth years." The Bellatrixian representative pulsed with incredulity. "Are you suggesting they've shut down interstellar communications for a television show?" "We cannot confirm without investigation," Zystra replied diplomatically, "but it would not be unprecedented." He turned to the communications officer. "What is Admiral Corvin's status?" "The Admiral has taken a stealth vessel to conduct closer reconnaissance. We expect his preliminary report within 2 standard hours." Zystra nodded. "Then we shall reconvene upon receiving his findings. Until then, maintain alert status. But let us not jump to apocalyptic conclusions." He paused, adding with what might have been a touch of humor. "Even if humans do seem to have an unusual fascination with those..." The stealth vessel Phantom slipped through Earth's orbital defense grid without triggering a single alarm. Its hull, composed of light-absorbing metamaterials and equipped with the most advanced quantum signature dampeners in the fleet, rendered it effectively invisible to all known detection methods. On the bridge, Admiral Corvin and a small team monitored their approach to the planet's surface. Beside him stood Dr. Gree, the fleet's senior xenoanthropologist, a tall, willowy being with 6-fingered hands and skin that resembled polished copper. His species, the Volari, were renowned for their observational abilities and empathic intelligence, making them ideal scholars of other civilizations. "We're maintaining low-altitude trajectory over the northern hemisphere," reported the pilot, her fingers dancing across the navigation controls. "Current path will take us over major population centers in what humans call North America, Europe, and Asia." Corvin nodded. "Good. Dr. Gray, what should we be looking for?" The xenoanthropologist contemplated for a moment. "If previous patterns hold, we should see evidence of mass attention focus. During the sports competition incident, public gathering spaces were filled to capacity. During the political selection event, humans congregated around information displays. Look for anomalous congregation patterns." The Phantom continued its silent glide through the upper atmosphere, its external sensors capturing high-resolution imagery of the landscape below. The view screens displayed sprawling cities, transportation networks, and billions of tiny heat signatures representing individual humans going about their daily activities. "Initial observation suggests normal movement patterns," noted the sensor officer. "No unusual congregations in public spaces." Dr. Gray frowned, an expression he had adopted from studying humans. "Curious. Perhaps this event is different in nature. Can we access their information networks without detection?" The communications specialist, a Syrian with exceptional technical abilities, nodded. "We can passively monitor unencrypted broadcasts and public data streams. No intervention required." "Proceed," ordered Corvin. Within moments, the ship's systems began processing tremendous volumes of data from Earth's conventional communications infrastructure. Radio waves, microwave transmissions, and standard electromagnetic signals that humans still used alongside the quantum network for everyday purposes. The communications specialist's expression changed to one of surprise. "Admiral, I'm detecting an unusual pattern. Approximately 73% of all conventional communications channels are currently broadcasting identical content. "Show me," Corvin commanded. The main view screen shifted to display what appeared to be an elaborately produced fictional narrative. Humans in stylized costumes engaged in dramatic confrontations amid spectacular visual effects. Superimposed on the image was a countdown timer, showing less than an hour remaining. Dr. Gray leaned forward, his copper features alight with academic interest. "Fascinating. This appears to be the culmination of Dragon Throne, The Final Conquest, a globally significant narrative entertainment series." Corvan looked skeptical. "You're familiar with human entertainment programs?" "Of course, Admiral. Understanding a species' fictional narratives provides invaluable insight into their psychology, values, and fears. This particular series has achieved unprecedented cultural penetration. It combines historical elements with fantastical speculation about alternative human development paths. Plus, significant romantic and conflict narratives." The Admiral's scales shifted to a pattern indicating both frustration and reluctant curiosity. "And this is worth shutting down interstellar communications?" Dr. Gray spread his six-fingered hands in a gesture of academic neutrality. "From a human perspective? Absolutely. This series represents 8 Earth years of character development and narrative complexity. Its conclusion will define cultural discourse for months, perhaps years. Many humans structure their social connections around shared reactions to such content." Corvin studied the screen more carefully. "They've redirected quantum network resources to this entertainment?" "It appears so," confirmed the communications specialist. "The bandwidth requirements for simultaneous global transmission of this content at maximum sensory fidelity would be enormous. By repurposing their quantum communication array, they could ensure no one experiences what they call buffering, or quality degradation." The Admiral was silent for a long moment, his scales cycling through various patterns before settling on a mixture of exasperation and grudging respect. "So," he said finally, "the 16th Earth Silence event is indeed another case of humans prioritizing entertainment over interstellar protocol." Dr. Gray nodded. "It appears so, Admiral, though I would suggest this represents an important anthropological insight. For humans, shared narrative experiences serve crucial social bonding functions. They literally value collective emotional experiences over technical compliance." Corvin turned to the communications officer. "Prepare a report for the Council. Classification: non-threatening cultural anomaly." He paused, then added with a touch of what might have been humor, "Again." As the officer compiled the report, Corvan addressed Dr. Gray privately. "In your expert opinion, Doctor, will they ever stop surprising us like this?" The xenoanthropologist's copper features arranged themselves into what humans would recognize as a smile. "Admiral, I can state with absolute academic certainty that humans will never stop surprising us. It is, perhaps, their most predictable feature." The Phantom continued its orbit, undetected by Earth's defenses, while below them, billions of humans remained completely oblivious to anything but the dramatic conclusion unfolding on their screens. High Patriarch Zixtra read Admiral Corvin's report with what his species would consider composure, though the slight vibration of his ceremonial headdress betrayed his irritation. Around the council chamber, reactions ranged from amusement to outrage as representatives digested the information. "So," Zixtra summarized for the assembly, "Earth has redirected their entire quantum communications infrastructure to broadcast the conclusion of an entertainment series. They have not been attacked. They are not conducting dangerous experiments. They are not in crisis. They are simply watching television." The Bellatrixian representative pulsed with vindication. "As I suggested, another overreaction to human cultural eccentricity. Not entirely without precedent for concern," countered the Arcturian crystalline entity. The quantum disruption event began similarly, with entertainment redistribution before experimentation. Zixtra raised a four-fingered hand for silence. Admiral Corvin's team detected no signs of experimental technology. Dr. Gray's assessment indicates this is purely a cultural phenomenon, albeit one of apparently staggering importance to humans. The representative from Tau Ceti, whose people had the most regular contact with humans, offered additional context. My understanding is that this particular narrative series has achieved unprecedented cultural significance. Its characters and scenarios have become reference points in human discourse. Its plot developments the subject of extensive speculation and debate. The conclusion represents a major cultural milestone. More significant than interstellar relations? Asked the Rigelian delegate incredulously. The Tau Cetian made a gesture equivalent to a shrug. To many humans, yes. Remember that their species evolved in isolation for most of their history. Their social bonding mechanisms remain primarily intraspecies focused, despite 50 millennia of galactic integration. Zixtra consulted additional data on his personal display. Admiral Corvin reports the broadcast will conclude in approximately 43 minutes. We can expect normal communications to resume shortly thereafter. And what of consequences? Demanded a representative from one of the older council species. This is a clear violation of the agreements established after previous incidents. There should be diplomatic repercussions. Before Zixtra could respond, a notification appeared on the central display, an incoming transmission request from Earth itself. The timing was unexpected, given the ongoing communications blackout. It appears we have a partial connection, noted the communications officer with surprise. Limited bandwidth, diplomatic priority channel only. Zixtra exchanged glances with several senior council members before nodding. Accept the transmission. The holographic display shifted to show the official Earth ambassador to the Galactic Council, a dignified human with dark skin and silver-streaked hair, dressed in formal diplomatic attire. The image quality was noticeably degraded, flickering occasionally, evidence of the severely limited bandwidth. High Patriarch, esteemed council members, the ambassador began, her voice similarly affected by digital artifacts. I offer sincere apologies for the unexpected communications interruption. I've been authorized to provide explanation and assurances. Zixtra's four eyes blinked in unison, a sign of attentiveness. We are listening, Ambassador. As you may have determined, Earth is experiencing a cultural event of extraordinary significance. The conclusion of Dragon Throne represents the culmination of what many consider the defining narrative of this generation. To ensure universal access at maximum quality, certain resources were reallocated, including your entire quantum communications network, Zixtra observed dryly. The ambassador had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. A decision made by our entertainment consortium with insufficient consultation of diplomatic protocols. I assure you, steps are already being taken to prevent similar occurrences in the future. We have heard such assurances before, Ambassador, Zixtra reminded her. After the quantum disruption event, after the mass transit anomaly, after the simultaneous culinary experiment that temporarily altered your planet's atmospheric composition. Yes, well, the ambassador conceded. Humans are enthusiastic about shared experiences. But I am authorized to offer a gesture of reconciliation. This caught Zixtra's attention. What sort of gesture? Once normal communications resume, we will transmit a comprehensive cultural briefing package on Dragon Throne and its significance, including access to the complete series with appropriate cultural context annotations. This will provide valuable anthropological insights into contemporary human society. Several council members showed visible interest at this. Understanding human culture remained an ongoing challenge despite millennia of contact. Additionally, the ambassador continued, Earth will implement a new alert system specifically for major cultural events, with advanced notification of any potential resource reallocation. Zixtra considered this. And the current situation? When can we expect normal communications to resume? The ambassador glanced at something off-screen. The finale concludes in approximately 37 minutes. Full network restoration should occur within 1 hour after that, allowing for immediate post-viewing discussion traffic. Very well, Zixtra decided, after brief consultation with other senior council members. We will maintain current alert status until communications are fully restored. The council will then evaluate appropriate diplomatic responses to this incident. The ambassador bowed slightly. Thank you for your understanding. High Patriarch, Earth values its place in the galactic community and regrets any concern caused by our cultural priorities. As the transmission ended, Zixtra turned to address the council. It seems our 7th Fleet will need to maintain position for another 2 hours. Admiral Corvin's reconnaissance team should continue observation until communications are fully restored and verified. The Bellatrixian representative pulsated with what might have been the equivalent of a sigh. 50,000 years of interstellar cooperation, and humans still prioritize fictional dragons over galactic protocols. Perhaps, suggested the Tau Satian representative, with something approaching fondness. That is precisely why they remain such interesting members of our community. Aboard the Phantom, Admiral Corvin and Dr. Gray continued their observation of Earth as the entertainment broadcast reached its climactic moments. The ship's passive monitoring systems captured not just the program itself, but the global reaction to it. Billions of emotional responses, measured through everything from social media analytics to environmental sensor readings of major cities. Remarkable, Dr. Gray commented, studying the data streams. The emotional synchronization is unlike anything I've measured in human population responses before. They're experiencing a genuine collective catharsis. Corvin's scales had settled into a pattern, indicating intellectual curiosity. His initial annoyance at the situation giving way to professional interest. You find this significant beyond the obvious disruption it's caused? Dr. Gray nodded enthusiastically. Absolutely, Admiral. Most species achieve emotional synchronization through religious rituals, natural disasters, or major political events. Humans have developed the ability to achieve it through purely fictional narratives, stories they know aren't real, yet choose to invest with emotional significance regardless. The view screens showed scenes from major cities: New York, London, Beijing, Mumbai, Lagos, where enormous public screens had been erected to allow communal viewing. Crowds of thousands stood transfixed, reactions perfectly mirrored despite vast geographical and cultural differences. It's almost like a form of voluntary emotional unification, Dr. Gray continued. In most species, this level of synchronization would require either evolutionary hive mind development or artificial neural linking. Humans achieve it through shared story appreciation. The communications specialist interrupted with an update. Admiral, the broadcast is concluding. Final scene playing now. On the main view screen, they watched as the fictional saga reached its conclusion. Elaborate visual effects depicting what appeared to be a climactic confrontation between opposing forces, followed by emotional character resolutions that even the non-human observers could recognize as significant. As the program ended and credits began to roll, the sensor officer reported, detecting massive spikes in communication traffic across all conventional channels. Social media platforms experiencing 4,000% increase in activity. Text messaging volume up 2,700%. Voice communication up 822%. But still no quantum network restoration, noted Corvin. Not yet, confirmed the officer. It appears they're maintaining the blackout during initial reaction period, possibly to prevent quantum network overload from simultaneous discussion volume. Dr. Gray nodded. Logical. The immediate post-narrative discussion phase is almost as culturally significant as the viewing itself. Humans place enormous value on shared reaction processing. Corvin studied the continuing data feeds with growing fascination. Their entire global civilization is simultaneously discussing the same topic. Despite all their historical divisions, linguistic differences, and cultural variations. Yes, agreed Dr. Gray. It's one of humanity's most distinctive features, their ability to create temporary unity through shared fictional experiences. Other species typically require threats, crises, or religious observances to achieve similar synchronization. The Admiral was quiet for a moment before asking, "In your expert opinion, Doctor, should we be concerned by this capability? It demonstrates a remarkable potential for mass coordination." The xenoanthropologist considered the question carefully. It's a double-edged evolutionary adaptation. The same mechanism that allows them to achieve unity through entertainment also makes them susceptible to manipulation through narrative. Throughout their history, humans have been both uplifted and devastated by compelling stories. He gestured toward the planet below. But I believe this particular manifestation is benign. They're processing complex emotions together, creating shared reference points that will influence their culture for years to come. It's actually quite beautiful, from an anthropological perspective. A notification chimed softly, and the communications specialist reported, "Admiral, we're receiving a message from the Earth ambassador. Quantum network restoration will begin in approximately 15 minutes, proceeding in stages to prevent system overload." Corvin nodded. "Maintain observation until full restoration is confirmed. Then we'll return to the fleet." As they continued watching, the vibrant emotional data streams from the planet below painted a picture of a species united in discussion, debate, and shared experience, completely oblivious to the attention they'd drawn from the wider galactic community. 50,000 years, Corvin mused, almost to himself. And they still managed to surprise us. Dr. Gray smiled his borrowed human expression. That, Admiral, is precisely what makes them worth studying. 2 standard days later, the Galactic Council reconvened for a formal resolution on the Earth silence incident. The chamber was less crowded than during the emergency session, but all major representatives were present as High Patriarch Zixtra called the meeting to order. "Communications with Earth have been fully restored," he began. "And we have received both formal apologies and detailed explanations from their government. The incident has been classified as a non-threatening cultural anomaly, consistent with previous patterns." The Arcturian representatives' crystalline form glinted as they spoke. "While the immediate concern has passed, we must address the recurring nature of these events. This marks the 16th such incident. Each time, Earth assures us it will not happen again. Each time, it does, merely in a different form." Murmurs of agreement echoed through the chamber. "The Arcturian makes a valid point," acknowledged Zixtra. "Therefore, I propose a 2-part resolution. First, an amendment to our Earth protocols, establishing a new classification for cultural priority events, with required advance notification and resource allocation plans." The holographic display showed the proposed protocol amendments, which included specific thresholds for when Earth would need to alert the Council about potential communications impact from cultural events. "Second," continued Zixtra, "I propose a permanent cultural monitoring liaison position. This officer would work with Earth's entertainment consortiums, social trend analysts, and cultural forecasters to anticipate events with potential interstellar impact." The Taucedian representative nodded approval. "A sensible approach. Rather than expecting humans to change their fundamental nature, we adapt our protocols to accommodate their cultural priorities." Not all were satisfied. However, the representative from Rigel leaned forward. "This seems exceedingly accommodating. No other member civilization receives such specialized protocols. Are we not essentially rewarding Earth for repeatedly violating standard procedures?" Before Zixtra could respond, the chamber doors opened to admit an unexpected visitor, the Earth ambassador, accompanied by several assistants, carrying what appeared to be elaborate containers. "Esteemed Council," The ambassador began after receiving acknowledgement from Zixtra. "I come bearing both formal apologies and a gesture of cultural exchange." She motioned to her assistants, who began distributing the containers to each representative. "In recognition of our regrettable communications lapse, Earth offers a comprehensive cultural context package. Each container includes full access to the Dragon Throne series, with multi-layered anthropological annotations, cultural impact assessments, and linguistic contextualizing for proper appreciation." The representatives examined their gifts with varying degrees of interest and skepticism. "Additionally," the ambassador continued, "I am authorized to announce Earth's full acceptance of the proposed protocol amendments. We have already established a cultural impact assessment office specifically for interstellar coordination, and," she added with a diplomatic smile, "we have prepared a preliminary calendar of potentially significant cultural events for the coming 5 Earth years, with projected impact assessments for each." This announcement generated noticeable approval among many council members. The practical approach, addressing the issue directly rather than offering vague assurances, represented a mature response that many hadn't expected. Zixtra studied the ambassador for a moment before speaking. "Earth's proactive response is appreciated. However, I must ask, why has such a solution not been implemented after previous incidents?" The ambassador's expression turned slightly chagrined. "High Patriarch, I could offer diplomatic platitudes about bureaucratic processes or implementation challenges. The honest answer is simpler. We didn't take it seriously enough. The recent deployment of the 7th Fleet made clear that what we viewed as minor inconveniences were being interpreted as potential security threats." This candid admission seemed to satisfy Zixtra. "Very well. The Council will vote on the proposed protocols. In the meantime, Admiral Corvin has recommended maintaining enhanced readiness for the 7th Fleet during major Earth cultural events, as a precautionary measure." The ambassador nodded graciously. "A reasonable precaution that Earth fully understands." After the formal proceedings concluded and most representatives had departed, Zixtra found himself in conversation with the ambassador in a more private antechamber. "Off the record, Ambassador," the High Patriarch said, his 4 eyes fixed on her with curiosity. "Was it worth it? This Dragon Throne conclusion? Did it justify the disruption?" The ambassador smiled. "Personally, absolutely. The cultural significance cannot be overstated. The series has been a touchstone for an entire generation. Its conclusion represented a shared moment of unprecedented scale." Zixtra made the Centaurian gesture equivalent to raising an eyebrow. "And the ending itself, satisfactory." For the first time, the ambassador's diplomatic composure slipped slightly, revealing genuine emotion. "Actually, quite controversial. The character arcs resolved in unexpected ways. The debate will continue for years." "Fascinating," murmured Zixtra. "Perhaps I shall examine this cultural package myself. For diplomatic understanding, of course." "Of course," agreed the ambassador with a knowing smile. "I've taken the liberty of including specific viewing notes for yourself, High Patriarch. The series contains several Centaurian-inspired cultural elements you might find interesting." As they parted ways, Zixtra found himself contemplating the peculiar species that had joined the galactic community 50 millennia ago. Despite their relatively brief cosmic history, humans had managed to become one of the most influential, and certainly most unpredictable, member civilizations. Their technological innovations were often brilliant, but haphazard. Their diplomatic approaches veered between surprisingly sophisticated and frustratingly naive. And their cultural priorities remained stubbornly centered on distinctly human concerns, even after thousands of years of interstellar exposure. Yet, there was something undeniably compelling about them. Perhaps it was their capacity for creative expression, or their emotional intensity, or simply their knack for making the unexpected seem inevitable in retrospect. Whatever it was, Zixtra found himself looking forward to examining this dragon throne phenomenon. Perhaps it might offer new insights into humanity's peculiar blend of chaos and inspiration, qualities that continue to both frustrate and fascinate the galactic community. Meanwhile, light years away, Admiral Corvin stood once again on the observation deck of the Vigilance, watching as the Seventh Fleet resumed its regular patrol pattern at a respectful distance from Earth. New orders received and acknowledged, reported Lieutenant Commander Vrel. Enhanced monitoring protocols established for future Earth cultural events, with graduated response procedures based on advanced notification categories. Corvin nodded, his scales displaying a pattern of professional satisfaction. And the cultural briefing package from Earth? Received, Admiral. Distribution to crew pending your approval. The Admiral considered for a moment, scales shifting to a pattern of curiosity, tinged with amusement. Approved for distribution during recreational periods. It may prove educationally valuable for understanding our enigmatic neighbors. As Vrel departed to implement the orders, Dr. Gray joined the Admiral at the viewport. Both stood in contemplative silence, observing the distant blue-green planet that had once again returned to normal communications after its brief, self-imposed isolation. "You know they'll do something like this again," Corvin said finally. "Perhaps not exactly the same, but equally unexpected." Dr. Gray nodded. "Without question. It's fundamental to their nature, this capacity for collective focus on shared experiences. Other species develop technological solutions to challenges. Humans develop stories about overcoming them, which somehow proves equally effective for their evolutionary success." "A strange adaptation," Corvin observed. "But an effective one," countered the xenoanthropologist. "Consider their history. A species that evolved on a single planet with no natural defenses beyond intelligence, yet managed to survive planetary catastrophes, their own technological missteps, and eventually join galactic society as equals." The Admiral's scales rippled with reluctant agreement. "They are remarkably resilient. Because of their stories, not despite them," Dr. Gray explained. "Each narrative they create becomes a shared reference point, a way of processing complex realities through metaphor and emotion. Their entertainment isn't mere distraction. It's a sophisticated social technology." Corvin contemplated this perspective. "So, when we deploy a battle-ready fleet because they've gone silent to watch the conclusion of a fictional dragon saga, we're not witnessing irresponsibility," completed Dr. Gray. "We're observing an advanced social cohesion mechanism in action, one that, I might add, would be impossible to replicate through technological means alone." The Admiral was silent for a long moment before his scales shifted to a pattern indicating philosophical acceptance. "Then, I suppose we'll continue maintaining readiness for future Earth silences, with perhaps a bit more understanding of why they occur." "And perhaps," suggested Dr. Gray with a hint of enthusiasm, "with slightly more curiosity about what stories have captured their collective imagination each time." As the Vigilance prepared to depart the Sol system, leaving behind a minimal monitoring presence, Admiral Corvin found himself thinking about the personal data package he'd received, the complete Dragon Throne series with cultural annotations. Perhaps during his next recreational period, he might begin viewing it, for purely professional reasons, of course, understanding potential adversaries, or in this case, peculiar allies, was a fundamental aspect of his duties. And if the series proved as compelling as billions of humans seem to believe, well, that would be simply another interesting data point about Earth's curious inhabitants. Several months later, an alert chimed softly in High Patriarch Zixtra's private quarters on Proxima Centauri 7. The notification indicated a scheduled cultural advisory from Earth's newly established Interstellar Cultural Impact Office. Zixtra, who had just completed viewing the final episode of Dragon Throne, purely for diplomatic research purposes, he assured himself. Activated the communication terminal. The message was concise and professional. Advisory. Potential communications, impact event. Classification. Global entertainment premiere. Subject. Stellar Odyssey, First Contact. New narrative series from creators of Dragon Throne. Anticipated engagement. Extremely high. Projected 78% global viewership. Quantum network impact. Moderate. 43% capacity reallocation. Duration. 2.3 standard hours. Scheduled. 47 standard days from present cultural significance. First major post-Dragon Throne project from creation team. Explores fictional first contact scenario between humans and non-human intelligence. Note: full synopsis, cultural context briefing, and diplomatic viewing access included in attachment. Zixtra read the notification twice, noting with approval the comprehensive information and advance warning. The new protocols appeared to be functioning as intended. With a gesture that his aides would have recognized as unusually eager, the High Patriarch opened the attached cultural briefing. The synopsis of this new narrative series, particularly its focus on fictional interspecies contact, piqued his diplomatic curiosity. As he began reading, Zixtra made a mental note to ensure the Seventh Fleet received appropriate notification. Admiral Corvin would appreciate the advance warning, especially given his own recently developed interest in human narrative entertainment, an interest the Admiral attempted to disguise as professional research. Though rumors suggested he had become quite engrossed in Dragon Throne, despite himself. Somewhere in the vast distances between stars, humanity continued its peculiar evolutionary path, developing technologies and forming alliances. Yes, but also telling stories. Stories about dragons and thrones, about stars and first contacts, about fears and hopes and dreams that somehow managed to unite billions of individuals into moments of shared experience. And the Galactic Council, in its ancient wisdom, had finally accepted that this unusual adaptation wasn't merely a quirk to be tolerated, but perhaps something worth understanding, even appreciating. Though they would, of course, continue to keep a fleet on standby, just in case. Because with humans, one never quite knew what might happen next. And that, paradoxically, was the most predictable thing about them.